Michael Van Runkle here for HotCars.com. I'm at the Petersen Automotive Museum, where Chevrolet is showing off the new Corvette E-Ray. This is the hybrid Corvette, still got a mid-mounted V8, and it's got 655 horsepower and 620 pound-feet of torque, and now it's all-wheel drive. It's obviously looking very good. You can recognize it's got the Z06 wide body kit, but the coolest thing about this is they even brought a cutaway car. So I can show you some of the coolest engineering details that will make the E-Ray quite possibly the highest performing Corvette on the market, including the Z06 with the crazy 8,600 RPM redline. This thing is the fastest Corvette ever, 0 to 60 estimated in 2.5 seconds, quarter mile in 10.5 seconds. And that's because of the instantaneously available electric torque. So let's take a closer look at this cutaway. Now, in the rear, it's all pretty familiar. It's basically a Stingray. You've got the 495 horsepower V8 right here, 8-speed automatic DCT here. It's even got the same exhaust, which luckily you can tone down if you're not in full performance mode. But then it's got the Z06 345 millimeter rear tires. But these are a new Michelin Pilot Sport all-season 4+ ZP. I never heard of them because they're brand new. But it's got the Stingray suspension setup, so it's a little softer than the Z06, and part of that is to compensate for the added weight of the hybrid system. Now, a lot of people comment that the Corvette center console is enormous, and that's because this chassis was designed to accept a hybrid system from the get-go years and years ago. This is the battery cell here in the center tunnel. Think of it like a C7 Corvette would have a transmission and exhaust going through there, but instead we've got batteries that are liquid cooled, and then we've got the electric motor right here between the front axles. Also liquid cooled. It's got a magnesium case. There's magnesium bracing here because the idea is to reduce the weight gains of the hybrid system as much as possible. So we're talking about 3,800 pounds, depending on if you get the coupe, or we'll maybe call this one a convertible because it's got no roof at all. But other than that, the weight distribution surprisingly only changes by 1% versus the Z06. That's absolutely amazing because now we've got the benefits of added grip and instantaneous torque at the front axle. Now, the electric motor will work up to 150 miles an hour. After that, it runs out of revs. It's super short geared. I think they said an 8.1 gear ratio. So it's really best for blasts off the line or below about 60 miles an hour. That's what they're saying. I can't wait to drive this thing and experience the C8's mid-engine magic with a little bit of help from an electric motor and maybe even better weight distribution, even if it's a little heavier. Now, they've retuned the magnetic ride, which is one of the absolute best parts about the C8, because they want to make sure that it just handles perfectly. And because this was developed with an E-Ray in mind, they should have been able to do that right. It's gonna be quite a test. Other little details that help them save weight: carbon ceramic brakes come standard. You can get carbon wheels. You see this one has the 3 pieces of carbon for the side splitter, the front splitter, and the other side skirt. Amazingly, the frunk isn't even that much smaller. It's just got slightly more rounded corners. Coming around the side, we've got the enormous air intake of the Z06 wide body, which is necessary not just to feed the engine, but also to make room for those absurd 345 millimeter tires. Then we get in, and the interior, again, a ton of carbon fiber here, just like the Z06, but they've completely revised the UI for the gauge cluster and the center console. So let me climb in here and hopefully have some room to hold this camera and show you some of this cool stuff. We're still in a C8, so it's actually pretty roomy. You can see straight away we've got this new animation showing the front electric motor and the battery pack. Then you've got the C8 profile. Now I have to put on my seatbelt while holding a camera. And the reason I'm gonna put on my seatbelt here is because I'm going to turn on stealth mode. So seatbelt on, foot on the brake. If I go left on the dial here, now I'm in stealth mode. And this allows you to start the car up and it's silent. That's important because we've got an electric motor in the front. Oh, the fuel level's low. Not great for a hybrid. But stealth mode allows you to pull out without pissing off your neighbors. Looking over here at the center console screen, we've got a revised display here that's electric output and engine output. And you can go over to the torque setting, the power setting. You've got a living dyno, which I can't drive because we're in the Petersen Museum. But as you were going along, if I go like this, oh, there we go. That got the engine starting. So when you start the engine, it's obviously very loud. And it's got that classic V8 snarl, but because I'm in neutral, I don't know how to use that dyno system. But you can see we've also got all of the usual hybrid and electric gauges. This does have regen, so it'll repower itself. Let me shut down that engine so I'm not yelling quite so much. But the point is, you'll be able to see how the electric output and the gasoline engine are working together. We've also got other drive modes here. If I put it in normal, it's just a normal car, a normal hybrid, but they're calling it a performance hybrid. Then we've got shuttle mode, which is full on electric only, and the gas engine will not kick on even if you tip into the accelerator like I did just now to start the gas engine. In normal mode, the car starts up immediately with the gasoline engine roaring, fuel level low, not great. Now let's see if I can rev the engine. There we go. Maybe because I was in stealth mode, it wasn't showing the power output. We've got the dyno here. Well, I don't think we're rolling, so that's not gonna work. But you've got all the data you would expect from a hybrid. And when it's doing regen, you'll have that gauge here alongside the engine tachometer, and you've got the state of charge of the battery. One little important detail here, turn the car off just for the sake of audio. There is a specific button down here, which if you push this, that's good for track days, and it tells the electric motor and battery control unit, also water cooled, to keep a little bit more charge still in without putting all the juice out, so that you can lap repeatedly and still have lots of assist. Otherwise, if you just mash the throttle like for 1/4 mile, say, you might completely run out of battery for the electric motor. And then we've got another button next to it here, which is how you turn off the auto stop start. Now, I've driven the Z06 and a base Stingray with the 495 horsepower V8, and they're super impressive cars. You just can't beat these cars for the money. I drove the Z06 and then immediately went and drove a Lamborghini Huracan Technica. I can admit, maybe I like the Technica a little bit more, but this car, the Z06 that is, was like half the price. The E-Ray is gonna start at $105,000 or $111,000 for the convertible version. And I'm really curious to drive one. How can a performance hybrid system complement a mid-engine V8 like the C8 Corvette? How can the weight and weight distribution affect the handling of such an impressive chassis? And how does it sound? There's gonna be a little bit of electric whine routed into the cabin because they want you to know you're in the E-Ray. And other than that, you're basically gonna be hearing V8. It's gonna be a trade-off. Do you want the V8 spirit or do you want to have the maxed out performance? Of course, they probably could have gone a little bit higher and given it more power than the Z06. But for now, I'm very curious to see how this thing drives. And I'm curious to hear what you all think about Chevy building a hybrid Corvette. I hope you learned something about the new E-Ray. And as always, before you sign off, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out. Thanks.